Sitting at my kitchen table with my toast untouched, I stared at the HR email on my laptop screen, reading it over and over as if the text might miraculously change. The message was freezing my pension benefits after 3 decades of service, delivered without a greeting, a signature, or even a shred of empathy. They referred to 30 years of my life as a minor cost optimization review, acting as though my contribution to building the company from the ground up could be erased with a single click. That cold digital notice made one thing painfully clear. The current corporate executives believed I was already buried and forgotten. They thought they could quietly strip away my retirement to appease their private equity investors without facing a single consequence. But as I sat in the dim light of my Ohio home, I realized they had made a massive mistake by assuming I would go quietly into the night. They had completely forgotten that I was one of the original architects of the entire operation. I stood up, walked over to the top kitchen cabinet, and pulled out a faded black binder labeled Founder Records that had been gathering dust for years. Flipping past the old incorporation filings and early team bylaws, I found the exact document I was looking for and traced my finger down to Clause 14D. Back in 1994, my original attorney insisted on adding a protective provision stating that any negative change to my compensation would trigger an immediate $25 million severance payout within 3 days. Reading that sentence felt like waking up an old sleeping giant that the new management team had no idea existed. My attorney had warned me decades ago that the company would eventually grow large and careless, and I would need an ironclad kill switch to defend myself when the time came. I did not scream or throw anything in anger. I simply took a sip of my tea, opened my email client, and sent a brief message to the legal department stating that Clause 14D had been officially activated. The room full of high-paid executives was completely oblivious when I walked into the Tuesday afternoon strategy meeting acting like it was just another normal day. 20 minutes into the presentation, my phone buzzed with a response from the Chief Financial Officer, Arthur Vance, dismissively stating that my old contract was obsolete and would not be processed. Arthur was the type of corporate manager who viewed long-time employees as simple numbers on a spreadsheet, but he failed to realize that I had never signed their updated executive compensation package. Shortly after Arthur sent his arrogant dismissal, a junior legal associate named Clara replied to the entire email chain with a hesitant warning. She informed the leadership team that she had located my notarized original contract from 2001 and could find no record of it ever being overridden or cancelled. That brief note was the very first crack in their confident foundation, signaling that their legal department was about to discover just how dangerous my paper trail really was. Over the next 3 days, absolute radio silence fell over the executive suite as they desperately tried to figure out how to handle the situation. Rather than causing a scene in the office, I spent my time systematically organizing every supporting document, board minute, and time-stamped email into an encrypted digital folder. Rumors of financial instability began leaking out to our major vendor partners, creating a quiet panic that started creeping under the doors of the corporate headquarters. Late Thursday evening, Clara accidentally CC'd me on an internal legal memo that confirmed the absolute worst fears of the executive board. Her analysis proved that my original agreement remained fully active and legally binding, leaving the company facing an inescapable multi-million-dollar liability. Despite knowing the truth, the leadership team chose to ignore my existence entirely, hoping that if they stalled long enough, I would simply give up and walk away without a fight. During a virtual financial briefing the following morning, Arthur tried to reassure anxious investors by downplaying the situation as a minor contractual inquiry that had already been resolved internally. Listening to his smooth lies on mute, I realized the current leadership was willing to deceive everyone around them just to protect their own fragile reputations. My patience completely ran out 12 hours later when my attorney called to share a leaked internal email between Arthur and the legal team. The leaked message showed Arthur explicitly instructing the lawyers to stall the process because I was supposedly too old to fight them in court. Seeing my 3 decades of dedication reduced to a cruel insult about my age triggered a cold, unstoppable shift deep inside me. I immediately drafted a formal letter to the entire board of directors, attaching the whistleblower proof of age discrimination and demanding full compliance with the original agreement by the end of the week. When the Friday deadline arrived without the required funds hitting my bank account, the default mechanisms built into the contract automatically sprang to life. Because they missed the 72-hour window, Massive daily interest penalties kicked in alongside mandatory notifications to external banking partners and regulatory bodies. My attorney officially filed the notice of legal default that evening, sending shockwaves through the entire executive structure of the firm. By Monday morning, the fallout was absolute as the company credit line was frozen by major lenders, sparking complete panic across every operational department. Arthur Vance resigned in disgrace before the end of the day, leaving behind a massive financial disaster that quickly caught the attention of major national news outlets. Journalists began reporting on the multi-million-dollar blunder, while the executive team scrambled to handle the rapidly deteriorating situation. As the corporate structure crumbled under the weight of its own arrogance, I remained completely calm in my quiet home, going about my normal daily routine. The stock price plummeted as investors lost confidence in the leadership team, forcing the board to realize that their attempts to bypass my agreement had destroyed their own credibility. Every attempt they made to delay the payout in court was swiftly rejected by the judge, leaving them with no remaining options. On the following Monday morning, a quiet notification appeared on my phone confirming that $25 million plus accrued interest had been wired into my account. Shortly after the transfer cleared, the acting chief financial officer sent a polite email confirming the payout and offering a formal apology for the oversight. I did not bother replying to his message, knowing that my presence was already permanently etched into the foundation of the business they had tried so hard to control. I packed a small bag and drove up to my secluded lakeside cabin, leaving behind the chaotic world of corporate politics for good. Sitting on the quiet deck as the cold wind blew across the water, I opened my personal journal and wrote one final thought about the long journey. They built their entire success on my foundation, and I left with exactly what I was owed, proving that real legacy never truly disappears.